He's going to go to the Dreamer, like, really? And ignore what's happening right now at our southern border? I mean, this will be really interesting to listen to how he handles. This is a crisis in his administration, as a true crisis. And he's going to spend time highlighting the Dreamers?
He came to New York City, where I live, and Moynihan sometimes lives close to, and Megyn, you're not that far, recently. And he didn't visit any of the migrant centers where there's a lot of chaos in New York City, and there's a lot of tumult and upset, and Eric Adams is making points at it. He didn't visit that and see what's going on. You would seem to be a thing that a president of the United States might want to do. So it's to bring a dreamer, and I don't like the branding of dreamer because it just feels so cloying and manipulative. I'm in favor of legalizing more people and having more of a legal pathway, but having a dreamer at the State of the Union is a pretty 2013 move, 2011 move, and also it points to the uncomfortable fact that the Democrats had majorities in both houses and the presidency the last 2 years. What were they doing for the Dreamers then? Was there some legislation that I missed about that? So it's a really odd thing to do when border crossings are at an all-time high and the communities on the border are really, really severely impacted. And the people there are changing their politics because of it, as Moynihan has found out traveling down to southern Texas. So, yeah, that's a pretty odd play for him to do, even if I'm more in favor of liberalized immigration.
Let me give you the numbers, and then you take it, Kmele. The latest numbers: fiscal year 2022, more than 2.3 million encounters along the southern border. I mean, I remember when we used to freak out at the prospect of 1 million. That was like a 5-alarm fire territory when we talked about it on Fox. More than 2.3 million last year alone. December numbers were 251,000 and change. November, 233,000 and change. Again, it wasn't so long ago that if it got to 100,000, we were like, oh my God. And even Obama administration officials were saying true crisis at those numbers. And now we're double. And he's going to talk about a dreamer?
Well, I mean, at this point in the Biden presidency, you would expect the State of the Union to focus on all of his various legislative accomplishments, all the things he's getting done for the American people. And the reality is that talking about the immigration issue and the situation at the border, which is untenable. I mean, even for people who are generally in favor of less restrictions, who want to see the immigration system improved in ways that make it easier for people to come here, I mean, we have not done a great job of that. I just met someone who was a Ukrainian refugee who's been in the country for a little over a year, who was desperately trying to get legal so that she could work in this country because she's been stranded here. She was here at the time the war started, could not go home for obvious reasons. And knowing people, being relatively well connected, it still took about a year for that to be straightened out. This seems like the sort of situation where we're committing so many resources, you would expect that to be fixed, but that doesn't work well. The Inflation Reduction Act hasn't been terribly successful in some important respects.
You can't say it with a straight face. You have to use air quotes.
It's true. I mean, you're supposed to be talking about achievements here. And I just think that apart from some kind of like Jedi mind tricks, like the president is going to have to try and frame things in as affirmative and positive a way as possible. And that probably means ignoring certain things that are inconvenient because they are still conspicuously wrong and broken, especially things that he was denying for the longest time, like immigration. There's no crisis at the border. Like inflation, there's no inflation. It's just, transit. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Toughen up.
Until it's not.
You're so right. God, that's such an interesting point. Like, immigration would be on the list of ignore, for the love of God, ignore. There's no good news there for us if you're one of his advisors. And yet he appears to be getting ready to go there. Why else is a dreamer coming? You use the people in the audience that you've brought to make a point. So if he tries to take something close to a victory lap on immigration, it's going to be a massive story tomorrow. It will be one of the headlines. Just to offer this, because we talked about New York City, and how these border state governors are sending these migrants up to the Northeast and, these northernmost states, which is not great for us since we live here, but I support it because why should the southern border folks have to deal with all of these consequences? It's like they're trying to let everybody else feel what they feel and what they're going through. But this incredible report out of the New York Post talking about now how these migrants who've been brought to New York City and around are now fleeing. That's the word used, to Canada. They are fleeing to Canada, and we are helping them. National Guard soldiers have been helping distribute tickets at the Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan. sorry, to migrants who want to head farther upstate before crossing into Canada, according to several migrants interviewed. And then the piece is incredible because it goes through the interviews that the Post did with migrants sitting at not Penn Station, at Port Authority. That's the bus station. There's one gal, Peruvian native Susie Sanchez Solzarno. She's 33. She had been put up at the Marriott Hotel in Queens. It's amazing how, we take such good care of these folks. Like, they come into the country illegally. She's in a Marriott that's been using as an emergency shelter. But then she's heading north for greener pastures, saying, quote, "I wanted to live in New York because I thought it would be a better future for my daughters. But as the days went by, I saw insecurity, many homeless people, many people who shout and are disrespectful, and many people on drugs. I am going to Canada for the safety and future of my girls. I only ask God that everything goes well and that Canada is not like the United States."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on where
That's
you go,
where
I
we
guess,
are.
in Canada. No,
That's
she's
where
not
we are.
wrong. It's a pretty
Not wrong.
trenchant criticism of New York these days. And,
Right.
I have to say that I have a lot of respect for people who, it's not them that are making the decision to rack up the Hilton honors points for, 6 months straight in a hotel, which I find incredibly bizarre. But the thing about it is that, like, when she comes here and says, "I expect things to be better," the people that really have hold America in a high esteem are often the ones that are showing up at, the border, or people that are coming to New York. Obviously, a lot of these people that came to New York actually wanted to come to New York. And that was an interaction for people on the southern border that either had relatives here or actually saw a better future in New York, and come here and see the absolute chaos. But as far as politically, I, like you pointed out, Megyn, I think it's pretty uniform with the three of us. Don't like chaos on the border. Don't think the right solution to this is everybody run across at the same time, but more of a process that allows more people to work legally. But, it's not going to be good for anyone. When you see these stories in the New York Post, you see these stories in New York media, where people are pulled out of hotels, shockingly, and put into other sort of centers around, like, the ports in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, "We don't want to go. We want to stay in the hotel, and we're going to go outside and protest this." And the interview that I saw with the person leading the protest was so stunning to me that it's like, I thought he might have been a Republican operative. He must have been like, because he was saying that, look, it was really comfortable in the hotel, and this just isn't as comfortable. So we don't want to go, and we're going to protest it. And that kind of thing is really shocking to people. I've seen it's been sent around with a bunch of people that I've seen on Facebook and other things amongst sort of average Americans who don't think about immigration policy, but they're like, really? You came in here illegally. You're transited to New York by the government, who in most other countries in the world would transit you right back over the border, and then put up on accommodations, and then says, this is not sustainable. We're going to move you somewhere else. And there's a protest that the conditions that you're being put in are not nice enough. Yeah. That is really, really bad for Democrats, I think, those kind of images. And if Republicans were smart, they would actually exploit that and say that this is not sustainable, and people are getting very comfortable with the current regime, which is no longer sustainable.
What's your gift going to be this Valentine's Day? How about taking 10 or 15 years off your appearance with Genucel skincare? It's a gift to yourself. Right now, every one of their most popular packages, that's all their best stuff, is 70% off. By the way, I love the most popular packages. They idiot-proof it for you. If you're like, I don't even know where to begin, you just get one of those and they will walk you through it. It's like introduction to good skincare. And this includes the next breakthrough in skincare technology. Right now, they're offering their probiotic moisturizer absolutely free. These super ingredients found in yogurt can have the same nourishing benefits and goodness for your skin. Probiotic extracts can target bad bacteria on the surface of your skin to restore balance to your skin's microbiome for a noticeably clearer complexion and visibly younger appearance. See those fine lines, wrinkles, dark spots, sagging jawline, and even bags and puffiness visibly disappear right before your eyes, thanks to Genucel. Plus, with its immediate effects product, see results in under 12 hours guaranteed, or your money back. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 right now. And for the first time ever, every order at Genucel.com from now through Valentine's Day will include a beauty box with 2 luxury gifts. Order now, 2 weeks only. JennyCell.com/MK60. GENUCEL.com/MK60. JennyCell.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.